So let's see. Welcome back to Living with Classic and the daily Jaguar XJ6, which actually I haven't really been driving for 2 weeks for one reason. That's a slight misfire and it's bugging me. It's not like it's installed or anything, but just it's not running right and I want to have a look at it, and I think it's ignition related. I also have an upgrade for ignition system, but before we do that, I really just want to make sure that everything else in the system is fine. So we're going to go inside, have a look, pull the plugs. I got new plugs for it. I got new HT leads and a couple other things, and we're going to see if that fixes the misfire or if not. I got my kiddo here. Want to show on the camera. Want to show your horse? Yeah. So let's fire this thing up, take it into the workshop, and see. It's been sitting out here for 2 weeks. It's been kind of cold and wet. Not too bad. I also want to have a look at another thing. I've had a slight charging issue at one point where the charging light came on when I went into a roundabout and then it went off again. So when I stopped there, I just wiggled some of the connections on it and that seemed to sort of fix the issue. It hasn't done it since then. So I want to clean all the connections on the alternator and see if that fixes it. See, like now it's charging fine. So hopefully that is it and I don't need to swap out the alternator. But let's pull this thing into the workshop, have a look under the hood, and see if we can fix this weird little misfire. So we got some parts here. I don't want to do everything today, but let's start with sort of the main goal. This thing runs really nicely at higher RPMs and everything. It runs great when it's cold. However, once it gets warm, the idle is a little uneven and it misses. And it's a random misfire, so it's not on a specific cylinder, it's on pretty much all of them. And it's very, very annoying. The one time it goes away is, let's say I go a shop, I park the car, half an hour, do some shopping, come back and it's cooled down, then it doesn't do it. So I think the issue is with the module. This has a Series 3 ignition system on it, Series 1 engine and the Series 2 car. It's a mess. However, that works. And I think that's the problem. I think it's a little module in there. However, I don't really feel like having that ignition system because I've always wanted to try something out. I've always wanted to try one of these. A 1-2-3 ignition, and specifically the Bluetooth one. So I reached out to them and they sent one over to me. So I'm going to try it for a year as a long-term thing. But we're going to do that in the next video, install this. And I want to really see if you can daily drive something with one of these. However, before I do that, I want to do a couple of things. I want to change out the HC leads and I want to change out the spark plug. I don't want to do all of that in one video and then see if, well, miraculously your ignition system is fixed by the 1-2-3 if it was something simple as spark plugs. So I got MGK spark plugs here, which are my preferred spark plugs to use, and the engine that I got used, which is relatively recently restored, has Champion plugs in it. They've been reading fine and it's tuned well, but I'm gonna get rid of those. Let's throw those out, put new NGKs in. I have a set of new HC leads, and the only time I've ever had mouse infestation at the farm is on this car. And that is about 2 years ago. I bought brand new HC leads, and a couple of weeks later, I had a mouse chewing on them because I had a small coolant leak, if you remember, on the old engine up here, and I guess they like the coolant came up, chewed one cable off and damaged the other one. So I have one used HC lead on here I've been using, and the rest are pretty new, but we're gonna get rid of all of those now and put another set of new ones on. Not that they're expensive or anything, it's just been a pain to have something brand new ruined. Look, we're gonna disconnect the battery, so we're gonna work on electrics. I am gonna get some tools. We will remove this, And yeah, the cap and rotor is pretty much new. That is, everything else is new. The reason I'm suspecting the module is because it gets better once you stop the car for a bit and it cools down. So it's probably a heat issue on that. I think it might have been ruined by this car had the wrong coil when I got it. Electronic ignition systems are very precise on the coil that they want. This had a 3 ohm coil on it, the car when I bought it. I never checked it because it ran with it, and I sort of figured that the previous owner put correct coil on, but don't assume. And you want a 1 ohm coil with one of these, so that has probably ruined the electronic ignition, and that's probably why it has been misbehaving. I swapped out the coil about a year ago when I started to have a little bit of a misfire issue, and I figured out they had the wrong coil, put a correct one on there. But now the issue's gotten worse. So I'm just gonna get some tools. We'll pull the plugs out and we'll see. I am sort of wondering. It is a pretty brand new engine, but let's just do a compression reading on it and make sure it's fine. Because if that's not fine, then we're never gonna fix the misfire. So I'm going to pull the plugs, do a quick compression reading, and then we'll report back, and then we'll continue swapping out parts. Alright, this is the last plug coming out. So far they've all been really even. They're a little bit sooty right now. That's because I've been moving the car around the property just a little bit before 2 weeks, and now we just basically drove it around for a minute. So a little bit on the wet side with fuel. Couple of them, but they're all very even, and they all look like they've been basically burned the same, the insulators same color and all of that. So I'm very happy with how the cars are tuned. That's definitely not the issue. AED is turning off, all of that. So it's definitely ignition related, or it's mechanical, like there's something wrong with the engine, and that's what we're gonna find out. So we'll do a compression reading starting with cylinder 1, which is at the back of the engine on an XK engine. And I have not done when this engine was in my friend's car, we did a compression reading on it just when he bought the car, and it was really good. I remember, and he hardly drove the thing anything because they restored the car. So at that point the engine was freshly rebuilt, and I mean, there could be no more than 5,000, 7,000 kilometers on this engine. So we should have good readings. Let's connect up the battery again. And it's pretty simple. I have, you can do this many different ways. I'm going to do it from the engine bay. This is cable down to the starter. I'll hot wire it there. And I'm just going to hold the throttle open. So let's see. There we go. That is 145. So I'll do the other ones and then we'll report back the results. Alright, so really happy with that. It's almost perfectly even. Cylinder 1's 145, 2 145, that's 150, 150, 150, 150. So that's very good. Really happy with that. So definitely not an issue with the engine. I do want to set the valve clearances on this engine, but I'll be doing that probably sometime in the spring when I can drive another Jag for a while, because it's quite involved, you know, taking camshafts out and all of that, because it's a little tappety. But running well, great oil pressure, great compression. Well, I mean, not running that well either because of misfire, but we'll fix that now. So I'm going to put in new plugs, gap them, put some anti-seize on them, put new plugs in, new HC leads, and I think we'll have to go for a test drive and see if that fixes it or not. A couple minutes later, we have all new plugs in and new leads as well. Very nice. I even replaced the main one going from the coil. And that's one thing I want to do when I replace it with the other distributor. I want to move the coil. Don't like having it right there. It's just a pain. I'm going to move the coil up here somewhere. But now, hook up the battery again. Let's go out for a test drive and let's see if it's any better. So far from just starting it up and backing out of the workshop, it's actually running smoother. And that's not a placebo, I think it actually is. But we'll just take it for a little bit of a test drive. I'm gonna go down to out to the big road, and I'll drive up and back there a couple times, get this thing fully up to temperature. But actually, so far, it's weird. It's actually already running better. I'm trying to do this before it gets too dark out, but it's almost, I mean, it is winter here, and it gets dark pretty quickly here in Sweden. It's not as bad as up north, but still, 4:30, where it's completely dark. It is about 4 o'clock right now. So I'll continue this test drive a bit, and then we'll stop once this thing is really up to temperature, and we'll get a feel for if this has made any difference, which I actually think it has. Okay, we're gonna slow down here. This is a place we can turn around, and I just want to see what it feels like in gear. It's fully warmed up and driving for about 20 minutes. Yeah, it's a little shaky. But let's blow the cobwebs out a little bit. It's warmed up, and there we go. Second gear. We'll pull that to like 3,000 RPM, something like that. Already way past the speed limit. 3,500. Shifts. So definitely nothing wrong with how the engine's running, besides that I'm going way too fast. But yeah, it's that little lumpy idle, and I really feel like that's ignition related, because I took one of those, color tunes, like a C3 spark plug, and I put it in various of like spark plug holes and ran it, and I got like intermediate misfires on all of them. It was very, very obvious to see with one of those C3 spark plugs. But we'll get back on the small roads, pull over, and I'll try and show you guys the little misfire going on. I don't think it's solved. It's definitely better, and it was very, very smooth once it was cold and all of that. So I think it's once this whole module gets up to temperature, it's not that happy. So it was smooth the first 15 minutes or so, but now, yeah, the issue is back. Just pulled over here, and well, definitely misfiring. It's on all of them. It was not doing that when it was cold. It was very smooth then. Hopefully you can see that the whole engine is shaking, and it's just random misfires. So yeah, definitely not solved, but we're on the way. Back in the workshop, and that's because, well, we gotta continue. But I still want to call that a successful test drive, because we proved one thing. That's not just a simple thing with the issues, just not new plugs, new leads. That's not it. Yes, it did run a little bit better, but it definitely was still misfiring, and it does it, it's sort of on and off, because now when I pulled into workshop, it was running better. It was missing less than we were out in the woods, and I was showing you guys. So it's weird, and I bet you if I let this thing sit for about half an hour, especially if I have the bonnet up and I start it up, it's probably not going to misfire at all. So definitely something to do with that control module, and I could definitely just replace the part inside it, but I want to upgrade everything. That's why we're doing the 1, 2, 3 ignition. That will be in the next video. I didn't want to do everything in one video, just because then let's say there's a huge difference with the new distributor, which I think there will be, and someone's going to say, well, that's just a plug, that's just a leads. Well, we tried that now. So the next video, we're going to set that up. It's a Tune Plus with Bluetooth. We'll set all that up, and I'll go through everything, and then do a long-term test on this thing, and hopefully I'm very pleased with the product. Anyways, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with friends. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe to the channel. It really does help out a lot. And I'll give a huge thank you to my patrons for their continued support. If you want to support the channel a little bit more, there's a link down below, and everything is appreciated, because everything goes back into making better content for you guys. Until next time, I'm Adam. This was Living with a Classic. I'll see you soon.